As the school year starts, there's concern in some quarters about teacher shortages. Are these concerns legitimate? Joining us to discuss the issue is Dr. Terry Stoops. He is director of the Center for Effective Education at the John Locke Foundation. And Terry, we're hearing this cry that lawmakers need to put more money into the public schools because there's a teacher shortage. What do you make of this?
We literally hear this same argument every year. And to reinforce that point, I have a News and Observer headline from 1918 that says teacher shortage confronting Wake, and it said half of schools in the county have no teachers and small salaries and terms are responsible. This is what we hear every year, that if we just had a little more money, we would get enough teachers to be able to fill our schools. When the reality is in most years, when the school year starts, we have a sufficient number of teachers in all of the areas where we need teachers, and where there's occasion for there to be classrooms that don't have a teacher right away, there are long-term substitutes and other ways and other arrangements that allow us to ensure that there's a teacher in front of those children. So it's no surprise that we're hearing this. We have heard it for over 100 years now, that we have a teacher shortage and we need to pay teachers more in order to make sure that we can fill our classrooms, when the reality is that we have a strategic teacher shortage. We have a teacher shortage in certain areas, math, science, special education, maybe another subject or two. That has always been the case as well. And if you go back to the U.S. Department of Education studies that they do every year about teacher shortages, you will see that for decades we've had shortages in those areas. And that would sort of suggest to us that maybe we should have a different approach to how we pay teachers so that we can recruit more of those teachers into the classroom.
As you've just pointed out very well, this is not a new issue. It crops up again and again. I imagine, though, that one thing that is different this time around, it's certainly something we saw at the beginning of the last school year, and now this one, is the pandemic and its ongoing impact probably has an impact on how many teachers we need. I mean, we might have more teachers than we need if a lot of students stay away.
Yeah, and we just don't have great data right now on what the vacancy situation looks like. So on the Teach NC page, this is the page where prospective teachers can look for teaching jobs. Right now, we have around 4,750 teacher vacancies across the state in both charter schools and district schools. We have approximately 100,000 teachers in North Carolina in a given year. So that's a vacancy rate hovering around 4 or 5%. We know that in this last month leading up into the start of the school year, there's a lot of movement that happens. Teachers are leaving one job and going to another job. They're leaving one county and they're going to another county. So that vacancy rate that we have right now isn't a good reflection of what the vacancy rate is going to be when the school year starts, or when we're a month into the school year, because so much action is happening in human resources right now in various school districts that they are filling positions, they're interviewing positions right now. So to say that we have a teacher shortage right now before the start of the school year is very misleading, because we just don't have data that substantiates it.
Nothing about what you just described suggests to me any kind of problem with the amount of funding, which is the political argument that's made along with this.
Yeah, and my colleague Bob Lubke has mentioned that the school districts right now have an unprecedented amount of cash that they haven't spent. A lot of it federal money, coronavirus relief funding that they received from the federal government. And many districts are using that for recruitment bonuses and various other bonuses that they're using to get teachers hired before the start of the school year. So they have money to be able to use to be able to recruit teachers for the classroom if that's what's absolutely needed. And I think in the end, there will be some instances where special education, science and math, perhaps doesn't have the level of hiring that's necessary, but I think that these recruitment bonuses will go a long way into making sure that we have enough teachers in the classroom. Now, there's been a lot of talk about teachers retiring in unprecedented numbers because of the coronavirus, and they had enough from the last school year, and it was very difficult on them. That might very well be the case, but again, we just don't have data that tells us how many teachers have decided to retire and how many of our vacancies are due to retirements. We won't get that data until early next year.
Bottom line, don't believe everything you read or hear about teacher shortages. For the most up-to-date information and an accurate assessment of it, you can always rely on Dr. Terry Stoops. He is the director of the Center for Effective Education at the John Locke Foundation. Thanks so much.
Thank you.